Well, it's been a busy month here at Mirus Australia. Occupancy data is in, and there's some interesting trends that are being observed for the month and over the last 2 years. I'm Rob Covino, and this is Mirus Industry Analysis, November edition. The occupancy data is in for the month, and with that, we have the private operators leading at 92.33%, up nearly 1% for the October month period. However, with the industry, we're still struggling around 92% occupancy, and the not-for-profits at 92% as well. Within the occupancy, we wanted to unpack this a bit more. So we looked at occupancy trended over 3 years, going back to November of 2015. We've also overlaid the ACAR rounds and the release of beds into the industry. And as you can see from some of these trends, as the beds are released to the industry, occupancy then is absorbing those beds and also the rate in which they're being filled. However, what we can see is that in May of 2017 was our highest rate of occupancy as the industry seen at 94%. So we're struggling to come back to that 94%. But since then, the last round, we haven't seen as much of an absorption of the beds into the industry. And this is telling us a couple things. Perhaps with all the change happening, a lot of the capital profiles and also strategy that providers are looking to embark, they're concerned about what the future may hold. So maybe they're not continuing or developing those beds within the industry. We'll continue to watch this trend, but as we can see, we're still in a downward industry trend, but traveling at 92% at current. So following some of the occupancy trends, we also see some of the leading indicators around actually claiming activity. So within claiming activity, we split this between our total activity and voluntary activity. Within a total activity, the private operators were down the most, with the industry traveling at around 9.5%. However, with the voluntary activity, the private operators also declined the most at about 2% decline, traveling at 3% of total voluntary claims submitted for the month period. So following the claiming activity, the addressable claims greater than 12 months since last submitted, we did see an increase in that pool within the private operators. Private operators grew by about 1.5% of addressable claims outside of 12 months, but still tracking sub 25% of their overall claim bases within that. The not-for-profits and the industry are roughly at 34 and 31% of addressable claims outside of 12 months. So within emissions, we look at the average AC fee of the incoming resident against the average AC fee of the outgoing or discharged residents. As expected, with a declining occupancy, we do see these numbers increase as providers look broader at what types of residents are coming in. So the overall industry grew by about $1.50 in terms of the outgoing to incoming AC fees at $26.17. Within the complex healthcare domain, we also saw some changes since last month, namely the 4B clinics or pain management claims across the industry. Private operators were up slightly at 48.72% of their claims having a 4B claim attached to them. There was a downward trend for the month though in our 4A claims, which are typically completed by RNs or maybe OTs, but include only one session a week at 20 minutes. That dropped slightly for the month of October. However, we also saw an increase slightly in the industry with the pressure area claims, procedure 5, and that grew by 0.25% to about 39% of claims having a pressure area care related procedure. Within the workforce management trends and data for the month, we did see some significant growth happening against the care-related hours and the non-care-related hours. And this is tracked on a per bed per day basis. Within the care-related hours, we saw a growth of about 7.5% or to 2.59 hours per bed per day. If we explore and unpack the care-related hours, we can see that the growth came primarily in the RN hours at nearly 12% growth over the October period, and the AIN hours at nearly 10%. Be interested to get your feedback as to why you think these two groups had grown the most over the October period, but we will watch this trend in upcoming months as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We have had a number of questions over the last couple months about what to do with this information or how can I derive further insights about this data within my business. I'd like to introduce the link below. You can continue this conversation with my colleagues Michael and Tom, but by all means, reach out to us, continue that conversation, keep doing what you do. I'm Robert Covino, and this is Mirus Industry Analysis, November edition.